The Fujitsu Quaderno Gen 3 is an eagerly awaited lightweight Kaleido 3 color e-reader that I've already taken a quick look at. But seeing as it can only view and annotate PDFs, how is it at that job? The short answer is, generally, it's excellent. The screen darkness is the biggest drawback of this device by far, but if your ambient lighting is good enough to make it readable for you, then in terms of the actual performance of the device in handling and annotating PDFs, there are very few downsides in my opinion. Firstly, page navigation is fairly intuitive, with one swiping forwards or backwards to turn pages. Although the device does actually have a page flow option that lets you reverse this if you want. Although I find this a bit confusing. In case you're wondering about page turn speed, the device seems to lag somewhat behind the Kobo Ellipsa 2e, as well as the Kindle Scribe, but is nearly identical in page turn speed to devices like the Remarkable 2 and the Remarkable Paper Pro. Moving on to other ways to navigate around, there's also a kind of page jump slider bar at the very top of the page when you tap the screen to display the page menu. This works well when the device responds and you technically can jump to a very specific page by dragging your finger along the line. However, this isn't a favorite of mine, as the touch sensitivity of the device's screen, at least on my unit, isn't always great. I'd say it usually only responds to my touch, on average, maybe every 3 out of 5 attempts. Faring much better at usually registering the touch input from a user are the two small backwards and forwards arrows next to the page jump slider bar. These will record the two most recent pages in the document you visited, and you can tap these to instantly be jumped to those pages. Some of the best navigation modes are found by opening up the sub-options of the main page menu. Firstly, there's the page jump option, which allows you to input a specific page number to jump directly to that page in the document. Perhaps my favorite of these is the page thumbnail option, which displays small thumbnails of every page in the document. Once you see the page you're looking for, just tap the thumbnail to instantly go to that page. Another thing that's great about this mode is that these thumbnails are updated and show any annotations or highlights you've already made on them, which is honestly very convenient for finding these at a glance. If that isn't enough for you, tapping the left-hand side arrow will reveal a small icon that looks like a bookmark. This is in fact a method of accessing the table of contents for the document. You can expand the main headers to reveal other hyperlinked areas of the document. Once you find what you're looking for, you guessed it, just tap to jump straight to that section. In case this isn't clear yet, this device has a lot of page and document navigation options. So many in fact that there are still a few more to mention. For example, let's say you've navigated out of whatever note or document you were just in. Pressing the hidden button integrated into the device's plastic bezel brings up the main device menu, and with it, the Return to Document option. The triple line icon on the main page menu will bring up a list of all your most recently opened documents, another really convenient way to hop across different documents or notes on the device. Lastly, if you've stored your document or note in a particular folder on the device, you can press that hidden bezel button again to either jump to a list of all documents on the device, or the Find Documents in Folders option. Both of these options are quite nuanced, with different sort orders for the displayed information, and even give one the choice between a list or a thumbnail view. If you're looking for a way to search for particular words or sentences in your document, you can find the search tool in the main page menu. This tool allows you to select whether to search the document for these terms, either from the very beginning of the document or from the current page you're starting the search from. Results are displayed in a list, and tapping these jumps you to that page where the device very conveniently highlights the search result on the page. Impressively, it even knows to invert the highlight color when the text is on a darker background. I was really impressed by how well that was thought out, and not all e-readers do this. There's also a search mark option in the search options, but I'll leave that for my separate video going more in depth on the annotation capabilities of this device. Both search options also exist in a more basic version when using the Find Documents from List function as well. Another thing I wanted to mention is that on the documents I tried, hyperlinks within PDFs do work. So while it really should work on every e-reader these days, it's nice to know that it actually does. Well, once you've arrived at whatever you want to read, what's the PDF reading experience like? I've already mentioned that this device's screen is considerably darker than most other e-ink e-readers in my first look video. It's really difficult to come to a conclusion on just how usable the non-front lit Kaleido 3 color e-ink display on this device is. Sometimes I look at it and think, those colors are actually really vibrant and it's not that dark. But I have to admit that this is frankly a pretty dark screen. There's no built-in front light to rescue this, and your experience with the device will likely be based on what kind of lighting you'll be using the device in. Probably the most true description that I can give you is the better the ambient lighting you have, the better the screen on the Fujitsu Gen 3 will look. Regarding document enhancement, the device does feature a pinch to zoom ability, although it usually takes a few tries for the screen to recognize this gesture on my unit. It's also pretty slow to actually zoom into the document, and there are much better pinch to zoom experiences out there, including the very first Sony DPT S1 from 2014. Why is it so hard for manufacturers to prioritize this? Anyway, once you do zoom in, image quality remains really good. And you can zoom in quite far, with the max zoom scale seemingly capped at 2000%. You can also just zoom in on a selected area of the page by accessing the main page menu and then tapping this icon with the 4 arrows around an ellipse made up of dashes. Nicely, there's also a handy one-tap zoom mode exit button when you want to return to reading at a normal scale. Sadly, page zooms do not currently hold across the document, and you can't actually turn pages while zoomed in. Oh, by the way, these same zoom modes are actually available in Notes, and written text looks really good, even at the highest zoom levels. One other quick note, I haven't actually found any way to put documents into landscape mode on the device, at least intentionally. However, in one case, the device just kind of decided to put this one document in landscape mode exclusively. I've only experienced this once on this one image-based PDF I made, but it's good to know that, at least technically, it is possible. Weirdly, for such a dark e-ink display, contrast on the device seems to be oddly good at times, and blacks especially seem bold and quite legible. Most of the other view options for PDF documents revolve around several split screen options. The most basic of these is the two-page spread option. This lets you split the screen on the device so that you can view 2 pages of your document on screen at the same time. This gives your document more of a book feel, but admittedly, I think this feature would probably be of more use on the larger 13.3-inch screen version of this device. In case you're wondering, zooming in on either page in this mode will make the whole screen display just that zoomed in portion of the one page. One important side note for the two-page spread option. By default, the pages in your document will not show any images that are panoramic or spread across 2 pages next to each other. If you want to have the panoramic images to show up in the correct page order on screen while you're in the two-page spread mode, you have to go to the 3-dot menu and select Two-Page Spread Settings. And then in here, you'll have to select the With Cover option. Now your full-page spreads will likely show up as the publisher actually intended. Another split-screen option is the Display Documents Side-by-Side mode. This, at first, will just display a copy of the same page of the same document that you're currently on beside itself. However, the main page menu is also duplicated, thereby allowing you to open any document or note on the device next to your current document. This is actually quite a powerful feature, and I can see academics loving this. It's not totally new, of course. The Sony DPT RP1 did this as well way back in 2017, and many other e-ink devices have adopted this function in the years since. However, none of that changes just how useful this can be. By the way, zooming in here on either document will stay limited to that side of the screen, allowing you to zoom in on 2 pages of 2 entirely separate documents at the same time. That's also pretty cool. Another handy feature Fujitsu allows is the Create New Side Note function. This will, again, split the screen to have your current document on one side and a brand new note document on the other. Nicely, Fujitsu has included a fair variety of note-taking templates to choose from. This is potentially a very appealing option to academics or anyone, really, who just wants to have a reference document open while they make their own companion notes. If you want to find this particular side note later, the device automatically gives the file name and whatever document you've created it alongside with the word note appended to the end. Although you can, of course, change the file name at any time in the main page menu option. Again, zooming in on a page here will limit the zoom to show up on just that side of the screen, allowing you to zoom in on one thing in your document and another in your side note at the same time. By the way, you can use the Swap Screens option for the side-by-side document and side note modes to change which document or note appears on each side of the screen. It's a small but convenient feature, and I'm glad Fujitsu thought of adding this option. A quick note on large PDF files. I loaded this 166 megabyte instruction manual PDF onto the device, and I didn't notice any real slowdown in page turns. Hyperlinks in the document seem to work correctly, and even the auto-generated table of contents did a good job of mirroring this. So, the device seems to have little to no trouble handling even extremely large, multi-thousand page PDFs. One odd thing I wanted to call out before we move on. If you're reading a PDF and then the device goes to sleep, the first color image the device displays after it wakes up seems to have considerably more muted colors. So I'd probably recommend turning the page and then going back to that image, or refreshing the page by swiping up from the bottom of the screen to get the best results on the device. The last feature I want to discuss here is a pretty unique one, and I don't recall seeing it on an e-reader before. Fujitsu has built in an interesting memorization mode into the device. If you use the marker or text highlighting tools, and specifically the green color of these tools, to highlight a portion of the PDF's text, and then tap this little icon with a document and an eye, those green highlighted portions of the PDF turn an opaque black. The idea behind this is that you can use this to quiz yourself and practice memorization. You can make these areas of the PDF visible by tapping them with the stylus at any time, or black them out again with another tap. This memorization feature can also be used on handwritten notes in a note page as well. One last thing, exporting your annotated PDFs off of the device through the Quaderno companion app is easy and pretty intuitive in my experience. Nicely, that's also the case with sharing a live image of your device's screen. I'll go into more detail on both of these topics in my video on the annotation experience on this device, so be sure to check that out if you're curious and want to know more. Leading into my other video, I'll just say, yes, you can definitely annotate PDFs on this device. The experience is quite good and pretty interesting at times, so check that video out if you want to know more. See you there! Thanks for watching. If you like this video, then why not give it a digital like and subscribe to encourage more Inktelligent videos like this one.